Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about 4 reasons why someone might not like themselves, right? So 4 reasons why someone would hate themselves. They wouldn't like who they are. A lot of this is experience that I've gathered over the years working with people who are struggling with different types of addiction and all that sort of stuff. And I've come to realize that there are several key reasons, and I'm only going to go through 4 of them today. Several reasons why someone might not like who they are. I know it's a tough thing, right? Sometimes you wonder why would someone hate themselves this much. But there are some reasons. We could debate whether or not they're valid or not, but there are actually reasons why people obviously would not like who they are. So that's what I'm going to go over today. So number one is some people feel like they are unworthy, right? They feel like they are unworthy. And so they have really never learned how to love themselves, right? They've really never learned how to love themselves. And so they've never developed that sense of self-worth and self-appreciation and all that sort of stuff. And so they have a tendency to feel like they're unworthy. They're not deserving of love, and they also shouldn't like themselves. And they kind of put those two things together. So number one is they feel unworthy, right? And one of the reasons why is they've never really learned how to love themselves. Keep in mind, research does say that we're born with the ability to love ourselves, right? But we have to learn how to do it, right? We're born with the ability to love ourselves, but it's something that we must learn to do. And so if you look at a lot of research, it will argue that point that we're born with this ability that we can love ourselves, but we must learn how to do it. And some people, they consider themselves unworthy, and maybe because of the circumstances they were brought up in, where they grew up, they never really learned self-worth, right? And that's number one. They feel unworthy. They've never really learned self-worth. All right, so the second reason why, and this is key, and I see it all the time in a lot of the mentoring and the life coaching and all that type of stuff that I do. The second reason is guilt. And boy, this is a biggie, right? Some people feel so guilty for things that they have done, things that they have been involved in, how they allow themselves to really kind of get away from who they are, anything that makes them feel guilty, that they don't feel like they deserve to exist. They don't feel like they deserve to belong. They talk down to themselves because of that guilt. And I've heard people say, and a lot of the people I've worked with and counseled, and I guarantee you, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And so guilt is one of those things where I constantly have to work with people on trying to get them to get past the fact that, sometimes people feel like, they weren't there as a parent. And so they're not worthy of love, because for whatever they're going through, whatever they were doing, they abandoned their duties as a parent or as a mom or as a whatever the case is. And so guilt is something that really holds back people from loving themselves. And guilt is also something that causes a lot of people to commit suicide as well, right? It's a huge factor. So that's number two, guilt. All right, number three is the person has been, and I've seen this as well, unfortunately, the person has been abused or used. All right, they've been abused or used. And so, someone who's been in an abusive relationship, they don't feel like they're worthy. And a lot of times it's because the abuser, their partner, would tell them that, you're fat, you're ugly, you're this, nobody's going to want you. They seriously do a job on breaking down, the abuser does a job in breaking down someone's self-esteem and say they don't feel like they're actually worthy of being loved, and incidentally now they don't love themselves. So they've been used so much by people, by the very people that they trusted and relied on. And so because of that, a lot of times they don't feel like they could love themselves. And you'll see with abusers a lot of with people who've been abused, you'll see it a lot of times where they've been just so much, they've gone through so much mentally that it's hard for them to be able to come back from that. All right, so that's the third thing, right? They've been abused or used. All right, now the fourth reason is body image and self-esteem. I realize that's another reason why people don't love themselves. And you could see in this day and age of social media, and we're able to compare ourselves to people so much. I realize a lot of people struggle with their looks in general, their body image, their looks in general, where they don't like the way they look. They don't feel like they're sexy or they're good looking or they're handsome or they're pretty or they're whatever, right? And so they struggle with that, and then they find themselves relegating themselves. You remember Catfish? Has anyone ever seen that show? I know a lot of you have probably seen it, Catfish. What would make someone take someone else's videos or, well, really pictures or whatever, and post those pictures as themselves? It means that you're not comfortable. A lot of times that means you're just not comfortable with yourself. And look at the photos that they will take and post. It would be someone's photos, someone who they believe is really attractive. So someone's photos that that the general public or society would see as really attractive, and then they'll take those photos and they'll pass it off as themselves. That's somebody who doesn't really like themselves. They don't like who they are. They don't like how they look, right? And that's another reason why someone might not love themselves, right? So those are the four reasons why. Number one, they don't feel like they're worthy. And a lot of times they haven't learned to love themselves. Remember, we're born with the ability to do it, but you have to learn how to appreciate and love yourself. And so your parents have a big role in that. Guilt. They're guilty. They feel bad for something they've done. I haven't been there as a mom or as a dad or as a whatever the case is. And I don't feel, since I didn't give this person love that I was supposed to give love or whatever the case is, like your child, you feel you're not worthy of it as well. And you also don't love yourself because of that. And I've seen that with a lot of people who struggle with addiction and things along those lines, and a lot of the life coaching and mentoring that I do. Number three, the person's been abused. So they've been abused so much, and the abuser has told them, you know, you're good for nothing, you're fat, you're ugly, or whatever, nobody's gonna want you, and all that sort of, and all that sort of stuff. And after a while, they started to become what the abuser is saying to them, and then they don't feel sexy, they don't feel this, they don't feel that, whatever. And so again, they don't love themselves. And then finally, body image, right? That's a big one. They don't like the way they look, and when they compare themselves to other people in social media or just in society in general. So those are four reasons why someone might not love themselves. If you could drop in the comments some other reasons you think someone would not love themselves. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to turn on your post notifications. Don't forget to share the video. Please hit the like button as well. And until next time, peace.